hello. We were saying hello before you had your video. We're happy to see you.
Welcome. Happy to be here.
Okay, here come our people.
I'm going to put you on mute, though.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We're so happy to have you all here. Oh my gosh, Laura. You see all of our friends. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, there's Laura.
We're going to give a few minutes to let everybody come on in. And yeah, sit back, relax, enjoy. We got a big show for you.
And feel free to put where you're from, everybody, so everybody can kind of see in the chat. Well, come on in.
Yes, say, and we're going to invite you all to put your comments in, ask questions. I'm going to be introducing everybody. I'll start now even. My name is Debe Arlook. This is my maiden voyage. You're all with me. Be gentle. Thank you. I have my team here assisting me, and I'm just going to be telling you right off the bat, they're all going to help me out if I forget or miss anything. We have Douglas Hill and Bill Wishner. We have Ellen Friedlander and Alexi Butts. We have Roland Patagon, and I don't know if I don't see any of the other wonderful advisors here, but we have our team of artists. We have Shinya Masuda, who's joining us from Tokyo. And by the way, I want to say that Ellen and Alexi are in Hong Kong. And we have Chung-Ping, and we have Peter, and Ave, and Yulia. We had so many amazing artists submit their projects. We have some of them here today. We have Laura, who's here today. I don't see all the other lists, but I'm going to tell you who we have. Granville Carroll, Matthew Finley, Laura Belavica, David Freeman, and Gershon Kramer. They will be on our part 2. And that's what I was saying. We've got 2 groups because the work was so great. So we had to submit it, make it into 2 different sections. Once we begin, we will be muting you, or you're muted now. That's probably why I can't hear you. But please put everything in. We've got Miami, yes, San Diego, LA, what? So we're just gonna, oh my gosh, there's Granville. I don't know if you heard me mention. Granville's, he's our out-of-state guy for March 2nd and March 24th. And so I'm really excited, and I hope you are too. Hey, Eric. Hey, guys. Hey, David. Hi, Wayne. I want to say hi to all of my friends and my new friends. So we're about 3 minutes in. We're going to start. Yeah. We're going to start. We're going to do my technical stuff here, and you'll see how quick I am with it. And bear with me for the moment as I share my screen. This is our little bit of housekeeping. Let me bring you all in here for Pasadena Photography Arts. What we do at Pasadena Photography Arts, by the way, Bill Wishner is with us. He began almost 11 years ago, starting this out, wanting to bring art to the east side of Los Angeles. He was tired of making the drive, and let me tell you, LA driving is no fun. You have to listen to lots of podcasts, which is fun, I have to say. And so we have 2 ongoing programs that alternate monthly. It's OpenShow, which is what we're on right now, which is founded in San Francisco. It's now in 13 countries and 50 venues. And we encourage all different guests and submitters to be a part of it. It's a great way to get exposure, to talk about your work, to meet other people. And so we have OpenShow and Fulcrum. And Fulcrum is a great way for us to educate and expose other leaders, other types of education in the photo community. And
Debbie, that's the forum.
I said Fulcrum. See, that's why I have other people here.
It's okay.
And I'm going to do stand up later because I'm going to have other people that are going to help me out with this. So thank you. And so we have for forum, Michael Rababi, who's going to be presenting February 24th with the book California Love. And Ann Wilkes Tucker, she is an amazing, amazing force in the photo community. If you don't know about her, check out her work. She was voted best curator in the world, I think it was, a few years back. And she will be with us on the 27th of April. So we have all of us who are assisting. We do this because we love it. We can use any help that you can to help donate, which is why we're also having this wonderful new aspect of our artists donating, and we thank you all for doing that. And the donations, by the way, are all used to get our programs, keeping them up just as we're doing now. So thank you for that. And with no further ado, I will move to the next. Our first presenter, hold on one second, doing two things at one time, is Shinya Masuda, and he is presenting this. Oh, and I actually, hold on one second, there we go. We're gonna go through this one time. Each artist will go through each image one time, just quiet, so you can take in that music, and the music, I call it music, the images, and then you can put in on the side any questions that you might have, and we will be taking a look at that, and then you can ask the artists, and they will of course be speaking about their work. What I do want to say about Shinya, he has his translator Yuki Ishimaru here with us, so we're going to give a little bit more time, and thank you, Yuki, a little bit more time so she can translate for him. So Shinya was born in 1965 in Nagoya, Japan. He currently lives in Tokyo and was a French chef, which I want to go over and try his food. After graduating from Nagano Art and Design School, he majored in visual communication design, and he worked as a commercial photographer. He studied with Mr. Hashi, who is an action and still life photographer in New York. He was there with him at his Hashi studio in Tokyo for about 1.5 years. He now works as an artist, as we know, and he exhibits globally. His signature work is recognizable and the recipient of many awards. He recently closed a solo exhibit at Candela Gallery in Virginia, and I hear that there were more in the works. He's presenting his project, Hanafuda Shouzoku. And no further ado, And that is, what more? There we are. Shinya, tell us about your amazing project,
皆
please.
さん、素晴らしいプロジェクトについてのお話、ぜひお聞かせください。どうぞ。
まずはじめに、このズームショーにお集まりいただいた皆様、お誘いくださったデビーさん、オープンショー運営の皆様に感謝いたします。そして、世界中の今も懸命に奮闘されている医療従事者の皆様に心より敬意と感謝申し上げます。
First of all, thank you for joining us for the show, and thank you, Debbie-san, and to everyone involved in making the open show happen. And I also want to extend my respect and appreciation to all medical professionals who are still on combat on a day-to-day basis amidst this global pandemic.
私は東京在住の作家です。先ほども紹介がありましたけども、ちょっともう一度、説明、紹介させていただきます。私はフランス料理のコックとして修行を積み、シェフとしてお店を経営しておりました。33歳の時に初めて写真という表現に出会い、38歳でそのレストランを畳んで美術学校へ入学しました。
I would like to briefly introduce myself again. I know I've been introduced earlier, but I would like to reiterate a little bit about myself. I'm an artist living in Tokyo, and I was trained as a French cuisine chef and had owned and operated my own restaurant in the past. And I encountered photography as a mode of expression for the first time when I was 33 years old. And at the age of 38, I closed my restaurant and entered an art school.
卒業後、広告デザイン制作会社にカメラマンとして就職しました。その後、スティルライフ写真家との出会いがあり、彼の下で修行させてもらえる機会が訪れました。彼と過ごした時間は今でも私の礎となっています。
And after I graduated from art school, I joined an advertisement and design production company as a photographer. And after that, I met a still life photographer who gave me an opportunity to apprentice at his studio. And the time I spent with him formed my foundation as an artist.
では、作品についてお話ししていきたいと思います。皆さんはこの花札装束シリーズをご覧になって、なぜ腐敗物とカラフルな図形が組み合わさっているのだろうと不思議に思われたかもしれません。
And next, I'd like to talk a little bit about my artwork. And you're looking at my work called the Hanafuda Shouzoku series. And some of you may have wondered, why are these rotten fruits and veggies combined with the colorful shapes and items? And what's the significance of that? Many of you may have wondered about that.
実はこの腐敗物は母の過剰な愛の象徴なのです。
And actually, these rotten food items are symbolizing my mother's extravagant love for me.
私と母は離れて暮らしています。そして母親は私が単身赴任の東京での一人暮らしの食生活を未だに心配し、大量の食べ物を送ってきます。彼女はまだ私を少年のように庇護しなければならない存在だと考えているようです。
And my mother and I live away from each other. My mother still worries about her son living alone in Tokyo and sends tremendous amount of food to me. And she still seems to believe that her son is like a small boy who still needs the mother's protection.
送ってくれることはとても嬉しいのですが、食べられるだけの量にしてほしいと何度も伝えましたが、 彼女はいつも分かっていると言いながら自分の生活を切り詰めてまで息子に過剰な食べ物を送り続けてくるのです。
And I appreciate her thought, but she sends too much. So I've told her over and over to keep it to a consumable amount many times. And every time I tell her, she says, "Oh, I know. But she always sends an extravagant amount of food the next time anyway, even if she must cut down on her own living."
ある日、母から送られてきた食べ物が多すぎて食べきれず、その一部を箱から出すこともないまま腐らせてしまいました。
One day, I let part of that food she sent go bad without even taking it out of the box because there were too much.
当初はそんな母親のことを鬱陶しく思えてならなかったのですが、私自身、年を取っていくうちに、母親が息子を思う気持ちには損得感情もない至上の愛があることに気づいていったのです。
And initially, her acts were annoying. But as I grew older, I realized that her love as a mother for her son is so genuine and uncalculated.
同時に申し訳ないという気持ちが母親と無駄になった食べ物に対して起こりました。
So I felt bad both to my mother and to the food that had been wasted.
そしてその時、今は亡き祖母の口癖を思い出していたのです。形あるものはいずれなくなる。
And this incident also reminded me of my deceased grandmother's pet phrase, which was, "All things must pass."
この言葉は当然の摂理なのですが、仏教用語の諸行無常という概念につながるのです。
And the phrase sounds like a given, but it's connected to a Buddhism concept of impermanence.
ちなみに諸行無常とはすべてこの世のあらゆるものは常に変化し続けるという意味です。
And by the way, the word impermanence, the Buddhism concept of impermanence means everything is ever changing in this world.
これらの出来事を作品にしようとしたとき、もう一つの思い出がよみがえりました。
And when I thought of making these incidents into a form of art, another memory bubbled back into my mind.
それは祖母はカードゲームを使って私とよく遊んでくれたことです。
And this memory was the card game that my grandmother used to play with me all the time.
そのゲームの名前は花札です。
And that game's name is Hanafuda.
諸説ありますが、日本古来のこのカードゲームには、日本の四季、花鳥風月が描かれていて、いわゆるわび、さびが単純化された絵がデザインされています。
And this traditional card game's cards depicts 4 seasons in Japan, along with the flowers, the birds, the ambience, and the moon. And the design of this card game, as shown by Shinya right now, which is now gone, but like this, the cards are these, and the design is simple and elegant, somewhat ephemeral.
Yuki, we have a question.
Okay.
Okay, Senior. First of all, we wanted to know if his mother was attending tonight.
深夜さん、質問なんですけれども、
はい、
この今のイベントなんですけれども、お母様参加されてます？
母はちょっとコンピューターが苦手で、ちょっと参加できないです。
Unfortunately, no, because my mother is not so good with computers, so she couldn't attend.
I understand. And the second question, I have to share that I'm the mother like his mother to my son, which does exactly the same thing and way too much food. So I understand her. And we have a question from Doug, who'd like to know whether you conceive a finished piece before you begin making the photograph.
で、2つコメントと質問です。で、今お話しされていたエレンさん、エレンさんも母親ですし、そして自分の息子にも非常に過剰な量の食料を母として送ってしまうというようなことがあるので、お母様の気持ちとってもわかります。ということが1点。そして質問なんですけれども、でこちらシンヤさんの作品に関してなんですが、こういう形に仕上げていくという最終形態は撮影前から、思い描かれているといいますか、頭の中で出来上がっているものでしょうか。その思い描いて最終形態に向けて撮影していくっていう形ですか？
うん、僕は、まずデッサン素描をするんですよね。で、その素描スケッチをしたものに対して、まあ、あれやこれやと撮影していくんですけども、まあ、大体思い通りにいつもならないので、それが作品として面白いなっては思ってはいます。
どうぞどうぞ。
もちろんその通りにも行く時もありますけども、まあ、大概はその思い描いている通りにはならないですね。
Then, so with regards to how I start to make my art, I do write sketch first before I photograph anything. So I would have that sketch in mind, sketch it and have that sketch in mind, and I would try to on the photographs the elements included that I would like to include. And he's showing the sketch right now in his notebook. Like this. But in most of the cases, I will not be able to photograph in the way that I had imaged in my mind or on the sketch. Sometimes, yes, it does work out in a way that I had imagined exactly, but in a lot of cases, it doesn't. But that also adds to a bit of an interesting tweak to the work. Those are his notebooks.
特に僕はお風呂の中でよくアイデアが思いつくので、お風呂の中には紙と鉛筆はいつも用意しています。
And the place in my house where my idea bubbles up more often than not is in my tub, in the bathroom. So that when I am dipping in a tub, I usually do have my pencil and paper close by so that I will be able to sketch.
Shinya, can you tell us when you began this and which is your first, what year it was, which is your first one?
このシリーズの中での第1作目はどれなのかということと、第1作目が何年に制作されたものなのか教えてください。
第1作目はこれですね。
The first one is
これですね。
The banana.
that. That.
I'll get to it. It's the banana.
これ
One of
と
my
The
favorites.
banana and this one.
これですね。
Okay.
Those two.
All right. Watch your eyes, everybody. I'm going to get to the banana.
バナナ出します。驚かないでね。
Go a little faster. And what year was that?
何年制作ですか？
多分2016年だと思うんですね。
2016.
2015年。
2016. This one actually was 2015.
ちょっと同じぐらいだと思うんですね。で
About the
発表したのが2016年ですかね。
So, どうぞ。
センター・フォー・ファイン・アート・フォトグラフィーで発表したのが最初だと思います。
It was produced, it was made in 2015, 2016, and I believe it was shown to the world at somewhere around 2016 for the first time at Center for Fine Arts Photography.
With Anne.
Yeah, Yuki, I have another question from Bill Wishner. He says the photographs are striking, but he wants to know how close do you come to graphic arts as opposed to straight photography?
で非常にびっくりするようなその映像なんですけれども、でこれが ストレートフォトといいますか、ストレートフォトと比べたときにどれぐらいがストレートフォトから、なんて言うんでしょう、外れているといいますか、ようなものなんでしょうか。
ずっとしばらく、母親から大量の食べ物が届いて、ストレートフォトで私は撮影してたんですけども、その作品に昇華しなきゃいけないって思った時に、このままではアートにならないなって感じていたんですよね。で、ある時に、影作家の、日本人の影作家の方の作品を見て、影っていうのは後ろからライトを当ててものを浮かび上がらせるんですけども、それを見た時に、その切り抜かれた影の部分って捨てられちゃってどうしちゃうんだろうなって思った時に、僕はひらめいてこの、写真のスタイルをやってみたんですよね。それがその最初ですね。
So when for the first time when the food went bad, I actually tried to take a straight photography of those rotten foods. But if I take the photo as is, we will not be able to make it into a form of art. So I tried to think of how I might be able to get it elevated up to an art. At that time, I encountered a certain shadow artist, the one that makes when the shadow itself becomes an art of a certain object, and he was using cutouts in order to be able to depict something from those shadows. And I thought that I will be able to learn off of that style, and I tried to be able to turn that into something that would be going away from the straight photography into something that I am doing right now. Does that answer your question?
It does. It's really
your voice got cut off on my end, so I couldn't hear you.
Said it's beautiful. It definitely answered Bill's question. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。とっても美しい作品だと思います。
じゃあ続きをあれですかね。
So I'll continue my talk about the work, if I may.
大丈夫ですか。
どうぞ。
はい。この単純化されたこの花札をおばちゃんと遊んでて思い出したんですけども、花札をモチーフとして祖母の口癖、さっき言いましたですね。形あるものはいずれなくなる。これを形にならない感情と一緒に合わせて作品にしたいと思ったんですよね。
So this Hanafuda that I used to play with my grandmother came back into my mind. And along with that, I also remembered what my grandmother said, all things must pass. And emotion is also intangible. And so I wanted to be able to combine this concept of everything passing with the intangible emotions that I had into a form of art.
でこの先ほど見ていただいたのが奇抜な色使いとか、画面構成、突然現れる花や月っていうのは、花札を演出、私のつまり思い出を演出しています。
And so the eccentric colors or striking images or the compositions and the birds and the moons that seems to appear out of nowhere, these are taken taken from the Hanafuda motif in my memory.
で、ここで、母親から送られてくる、迷惑なこと、でもありがたいという出来事と、それから祖母との思い出、ある言葉、それを合わせて作品にしようとしたときに、もう一つ、日本人としての、習慣で面白い、習慣、日本にはお盆という期間があり、 この期間中に先祖はこの世に戻ってきて、またあの世に帰ってくっていう習慣があります。それを利用して、作品に作り上げていくっていうことを構想を考えていました。
So my feeling that what my mother was doing is annoying, but at the same time I appreciated her acts as well, and my memory about my grandmother were some of the elements that came into my mind. And another thing was that there is a certain tradition about welcoming the dead from the other side into this side when they pay visit to the living. And then after they come to visit, we give them a send-off as well with compassion. And so I also wanted to be able to include this element as a Japanese tradition into my form of art as well.
で、
I'm sorry to interrupt for just a moment. I know we have to just be a little bit relevant for time, and I want to ask you one thing about what you want to share most importantly about this work. It's so powerful how it translates over these 3 generations, and about your art and your memories. And if there's one other thing that you would like to share, and then I would like to address a question from the audience, if that's okay with you.
ちょっとお時間がなくなってきているんですけれども、で非常にパワフルな作品だと思いますし、そして3世代の思い、というようなものが入っているということ、非常によくわかります。なので、あと1点この作品についてお話をしたいっていうようなことがあったらもう1点お話をいただければと思っていて、でその後でもう一度お客さんの方から質問を受けたいと思っています。
はい、すみません、なんか長くなっちゃってごめんなさい。
I'm sorry, my story tends to get too long.
じゃあ、
Stories are great.
じゃあこの作品の中にそれぞれエピソードがあります。そのエピソードを今からお話しします。
Understood. So each of this piece has their story of their own. So I would like to highlight one of the work to be able to highlight on what kind of work exists behind the work.
銀杏の
ginkgo nuts.
Okay, coming to the ginkgo nuts. There we are.
はい。皆さんの地域には銀杏は召し上がったりされるんでしょうかね。
This is a question actually for the audience. Do you eat ginkgo nuts?
I don't. You guys want to put it in the chat?
チャットの方に入ってくるかどうかですが、少なくともデビーさんは召し上がらないし、ローレンスさんもマシューさんも食べないという返事が来ています。食べたことない、食べられるということを知らなかった、お茶しかない、妻は食べる、食べない、ほとんど食べたことないが多いです。食べたことある方が1人いましたね。はい、
じゃあもし皆様の、地域にイチョウの木があって、秋になって落ちた時にそれをちょっと匂いを嗅いでみてください。その時に僕のことを思い出してください。
And so to all of you who've never tried it, if there are any ginkgo trees around you, in autumn, look for a ginkgo tree with the nuts. And if there's anything on the ground, try to approach it, and you will be able to experience how stinky it is. And once you know how it smells, remember my talk today.
Okay. So, what were you going to say, Shinya?
Shinyaさんどうぞ。
はい。それはですね、この銀杏と青タンのエピソードなんですけども、早朝アパートのドアを激しく叩く音で私が目覚め、寝ぼけ眼でドアを開けてみると郵便屋さんが引きつった顔で なんだか知りませんけども、すごい匂いがしてるんですよっていうので、まあ、荷物を渡されたんですよね。で、まあ、僕がハンコを押すや否や、まあ、ひったくるようにして、郵便屋さんは逃げていきました。
And so it was early morning, and this insistent knocking at my flat's door woke me up. And I was half asleep, and I opened the door, and there was a delivery officer standing there with a frown on his face. And he shoved this package into my arms and said, I have no idea what's inside, but it stinks.
で確かに殺人的な、まあ、異臭がアパート周辺に立ち込めてたんですけども、送り主を見て私は合点が行きました。それは母からだったんですね。
And I noticed this foul smell filling the hallway as well. So I checked who the sender was. And of course, it was my mother.
で、息を止めながら、まあ、荷ほどきをすると、中になんと取れたての、まあ、銀杏がビニール袋にぎっしり入っていて、中にはまだ果肉のついたものが大量に詰まっていました。
And I had to hold my breath and open the package and found inside a plastic bag full of ginkgo nuts. And some even still had the flesh around these nuts.
でうちの母親は以前にもなぜか大量の落ち葉を段ボールいっぱいに送ってきたことがありました。
And there was a time before that when she, again for another strange reason, decided to send a box full of fallen leaves that she had collected.
でまあその段ボールの中に、まあ、一つの紙切れがあって、中を開けてみると、ふるさとの空気を味わって作品に励め応援している母よりと書いてありました。
And with the box, though, there was a folded memo included into the box. And the memo said, taste the air from home and devote yourself to making art. And I will always be rooting for you.
Oh,
Oh,
それは
that's lovely. Thank you so much, Shinya. We want to hear more. I wish we had more time and I wish we were able to ask more questions. I do want to show what Shinya is donating, and this is a catalog that is edition from his solo show at Candela Gallery. So if you donate, and this is going until midnight tonight, we're going to show you a way that you can donate minimum $5 to get collector items. We thank you so much, Shinya and Yuki. You've been wonderful. And I have to say, Shinya has to go. Unfortunately, he has another commitment. But we thank you so very much, Shinya, for your time. And Yuki, you were fantastic. And a round of applause. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
お時間なくなったのでごめんなさい。で、先ほどのカタログは今週抽選会に出しますよということでありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful day, Shinya-san and Yuki-san. And we're sorry I didn't get to all of the questions. We can do Q&A later. Of course, Shinya won't be here, but we can talk about Shinya's work and we will share that with him later. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you. And next we have Yulia Tregomoras with her the Stay at Home Order series. And just a little bit about Yulia. She's a Los Angeles-based photographer whose work explores people in seemingly ordinary moments of life. She was born in Moscow, Russia, where her photography journey began in 2009 at the Moscow Bureau of Associated Press. Pretty good beginnings. In 2013, she immigrated to the US, where she works as a freelance photographer, concentrating on her fine art practice. And her work has been included in numerous exhibitions in Russia and the US. She's been featured in Time Magazine, Washington Post, Moscow News, Leica Russia, and the Chinese Photographers Magazine, among others. So we're going to take a look at her work, and thank you, Yulia, for being here. Yulia, welcome. Let us hear all about this project, how it came to be.
Thank you, Debbie. And thank you everyone for joining tonight. And thanks to the OpenShow. I'm excited to be here and share about my recent series. A little bit about my background. I started photography about 10 years ago when I lived in Russia. And when I started doing photography, I've tried different genres of photography. From like theater, we have lots of theaters in Moscow. I liked theater, so I went there to photograph theater performances. I also photographed different types of events, doing reportage and protests and fashion weeks for Associated Press. And then I was drawn to fine art and street photography. And when the pandemic started, I learned, and we were on the lockdown in Los Angeles. I learned from a fellow photographer who is in Russia about a new trend or type of photography, remote photo shoots or virtual photo shoots. And it started, I think, in Italy. At least that's how I learned about this, because their lockdown happened like several weeks before LA lockdown. So fashion photographers in Italy started photographing their models online via video apps. And I looked at the images, it looked fun and something new. Because I liked experimenting, I thought, why not to try it? So I scheduled my first photo shoot with a friend in Moscow, who I haven't seen on a video on a phone. Like we talked to each other via like WhatsApp Messenger. That's all. We don't call each other because of the time difference, and she has 2 kids. But because of the lockdown, they had also in Russia, in Moscow at that time, and I wanted to try this. She agreed, and she was my first person in this series. And from where I learned that video Skype doesn't work for this. The quality is very low, the images are small, so I started asking people who have actually iPhones and can do FaceTime. Because in this, because this is very different from where I am showing up somewhere with my camera and my equipment, and I'm responsible for the quality. Then with the virtual photo shoots, it's like, especially, I mean, the way I was doing it, the person on another end supposed to have a good camera, good internet as well. And there were some challenges with this, but it was all fun. Each time it was fun, a lot of laughs, and also connection.
So a lot of challenges.
Yes. Because also for most of the people, it was also for their first time remote photo shoot. So they didn't know exactly what to expect and what to do. And but it was still every time, like at the end, I think it was just like fun experience. And for me, while I kept continuing doing it, because it just provided me some connection with people, and also allowed me to reconnect with some folks I met before, but didn't see for a long time, like some friends like from whom I met in Russia, but now they live in France, for example, and they're also in their lockdown. This way, like we could talk about what's going on there, here, and have a photo shoot, and it's like a memory of the pandemic of where everyone was quite limited in their how like limited in the movement. I mean, being stuck at home, and that just was fun
So
to do.
how many different countries were you photographing in?
Yeah, virtually, I visited while staying safe, staying at home. Virtually, I visited France several times. I think many times Russia because I have my friends there. Also Ukraine because I have relatives there, and Armenia. Not relatives, but just some other friends, and Bali, um, and multiple states of the US, I think.
So, and let's say for this shot, for instance, where was the camera placed? And how did you direct your subjects to make the portrait?
Well, this is Iris, and with her, it was quite easy because she happened to have a tripod. She was maybe like the only or among the only people who had tripods. So she was able to put, I think, her phone on a tripod. And I asked everyone to switch the camera to the back camera, not a selfie camera, because that's the better quality. So she put her phone that I could see the bed, and she was studying for her exams, I think, at that time. And we did some photos with her books, and then like how she's just relaxing on her bed, like, and yeah.
So it's a different kind of directing for sure. You're directing them where you want them to be and where they will put the camera. And then still you're not exactly sure what you're going to capture until you are in that moment.
Yes, correct. And also like whenever we had a call, I had no idea of their surroundings, like what's inside their room, apartment, like so. So it was like I asked to show, and then picked one place, another place, and we could move. And in the beginning, especially, I tried to photograph by the windows and to use reflections if it's possible. And but then I also started doing like inside as well. And this is Hasmik. Yes, there is a question.
We have a question from Peter.
Yes.
He's asking if you only photographed your friends or if you introduced strangers into your project.
Good question. And let me think. I think, like just we saw Hasmik. I met her only one time in Armenia, and we just stayed in touch. I mean, on Instagram, and I just thought like, why not to add Armenia to the country list? And even I saw her once. I thought to reach out to her and suggest to participate in my project. And I also asked several strangers, but it didn't work out with them. I don't know. They were not very, how to say, like they said yes, and then it was very challenging to agree on the time and choose. So most of the people I know, most of the people like here, the ones I know, I met at least once.
We have another interesting question from Ben, who's asking how the shutter was released. Was it released through voice control, or how did?
Yes. When I use for most of the photo shoots, I used the FaceTime app. So we had a video call, and for me it wasn't necessary to be on the camera, and there is like a button, like a circle where I could press, and then it's like taking a frame of video and saving it to me, saving to my iPhoto, to my photo library. And the also one of the funniest things that when I'm doing it, I don't know exactly what I got because I can't see it, and I can't access it easily like as a if it was a camera to see like, oh yeah, I got it, like, or not, because it all goes to the gallery, and if I have to check, I have to like go off from my video screen, like swipe it and go to the gallery, but then I would already maybe miss another moment. So of course I checked in the beginning like if it's actually working, and if it's working I just did photo shoot, and then later I would go and see what I got. Unfortunately,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, one time we had like a wonderful photo shoot in an Armenian village, an old house, beautifully decorated, and at the end there were like such beautiful images with shadows involved, light, and then I saw, and maybe it was like bad connection, but the images were not saved. Something happened.
So for this shot in particular, it's outside, so you've got your camera somewhere. How does your subject hear you, and how did you come to make this shot?
I think your balcony door was slightly opened. That's the way, but it was actually challenging. Yeah, because here we don't see her face and ears, but I have also portraits of her, so I didn't want her to be in headphones. And I asked her, the door was a little open. I had to speak very loud. She didn't really hear me much, but yeah, I tried to explain her what to do, and then she did. She had no idea that I was seeing these reflections, and when she saw the result later, next day, maybe I sent her, and she was quite like surprised, I think.
It's a very technical project, and when you look at it at face value, one wouldn't know. And this story, I think, is very important in this, and how we've been so disconnected this year with the pandemic, and
yes,
bring it together in this unique way. You have questions?
Yeah, we have a question from the audience, and it's asking, related to what Debe was just saying, if this process helped you see your friends in a new way. Did you learn anything from photographing them through your iPhone?
Thank you for this question. The new way. I think I just was happy to see them, and the ones I actually know, I was happy to reconnect to them and see them. And someone like I haven't actually met in person for maybe 7 years. So yeah, it was interesting to see how they are, and how maybe like they have different hairstyles or whatever. But with some people I might met only once or photographed once in past. It was just more to try different variety with what we have, what is available right now in their room, and that's all.
Yulia, can you show us what you are donating tonight?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
Thank you so much for sharing.
A print. It's called In Vladivostok. When I traveled to the far east of Russia on the train so that's the print.
Thank you. We're going to show a close-up of all of the pictures later as well. And thank you so much, Yulia. And at the end, everybody will have a chance to ask Yulia questions. So if you want to hang out, and we'll have a little more Q&A toward the end. And avert your eyes. I'm going to go rather quickly. And Yulia, thank you again. And we have Peter Merts. Thank you so much. And here we are, Peter. He's presenting Unbound, the Passion of Imprisoned Artists. Peter was born and raised in the swamp country of southern Georgia, but the heat and bugs soon drove him out. I get that completely. Peter has been a photographer for 40 years, focusing on documentary, portrait, and fine art projects. His work has appeared in the New York Times, The Economist, and the Huntington Post. For the past 15 years, Peter has documented California's arts correction program, first as a volunteer and later under contract with the California Arts Council. He's photographed in all 36 California adult state prisons, which is amazing. And he served on the advisory board of the Prison Arts Collective. Peter co-published with Dr. Larry Brewster the book Paths of Discovery Art and its impact on California prisons. Peter was also in Critical Mass Top 50 this year. Congratulations, Peter. Peter, why don't you tell us about this project and why it started, how you got here?
Okay. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you to Pasadena Photography Arts for this opportunity. I'll start by telling you how I got into this project. For decades, I've been doing pro bono photography for a nonprofit here in the San Francisco area called Bread and Roses. And Bread and Roses serves institutional audiences, institutionalized audiences. For people who can't get out in the community to see live entertainment, Bread and Roses takes free quality live entertainment to those people. So into senior centers, children's hospitals, drug rehab homes, jails, and prisons. So 15 years ago, I found myself on the yard at San Quentin Prison, which is just a few miles from my home here. I was photographing a Michael Franti concert on the yard there that was produced by Bread and Roses. And while I was there working that day, I was approached by a man who worked at the prison, and he explained that he ran a fine arts program at the prison and asked if I'd be interested in coming to document this program. It sounded quite interesting to me, so I took him up on the offer, and very soon fell in love with this program, the power of the program and what it was doing, the way it was changing people's lives. So here we are, 15 years later, 36 prisons later, and I think I've done about 240 shoots in state prisons in California. Most of the images are used to promote prison art classes. So they're used by the Department of Corrections to promote this work that they fund. They fund these programs. The photos are used by the California Arts Council, who administers the Arts and Corrections program. And then I have published a couple of books with the work. This one's available on Amazon. This one I published with my dear friend Dr. Larry Brewster, who's a researcher. And he did research into the efficacy of these programs. So he's done a lot of interviews, which are in here. We've got poetry, letters, and artwork and portraits of the artists. My pandemic project was to create another book. This one's photos only, which is available on Blurb bookstore. But I went through and did just a photo book, a portfolio book of the images as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my process. So I first approached this project 15 years ago as a straight documentary project. I was imagining going into the classes and being a fly on the wall and just document what goes on. But that soon felt inadequate to me because the spirit of the classes, the joy that the men and women have in these classes, the joy of creation, of finding their voice, was just so powerful that I felt I wanted to be more engaged with the inmates who were studying art. So I developed ways to help that happen. So for example, one of the things I discovered is that the environment, the mood of these classes is really influenced by the teachers, and the teachers are amazing. Many of them are professional artists. They are paid in this program to go in and teach, but they create this ambiance, this sanctuary in the prison environment where people feel safe to come and express themselves and to work with each other. The racial barriers go down in these classes. So I've found that by aligning myself with the instructors, that was a big start, right? Because the students really love the instructors, they trust them. So when I show up at a class with my gear, I'm carrying have a little wagon with my camera and lighting gear. I use 2 lights on stands with umbrellas for all these photos. I arrive in the class, hopefully 15 minutes before the class starts. And the teacher introduces me, and usually I don't photograph a class until it's been running for at least a month or 6 weeks, because by then everyone's nervousness about being in a new class are over. They know the instructor by then. They've come to love the instructor, have a lot of respect for each other. So I walk into this environment that's already just a really great feeling environment. And then I asked the instructor if I can have 5 minutes at the beginning of the class to talk to the people in the class to explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So that's when I speak to the students and I tell them I'm photographing in order to support prison art classes, to get more instructors such as the one that they have and love already. I let them know I like to work close. I'm going to get in really close with the camera, but I say if I invade your space and it makes you uncomfortable, just give me a sign and I'll back off. So I want to be respectful of everyone's space. I let them know flashes will be going off and to let me know if anyone's bothered by the flashes. I have had 1 or 2 people tell me that the flash was disturbing to them and they couldn't focus on their art. So, and I don't want to interrupt the class. I let the students know that the photos will be posted online and that their families can see the photos, which they really love. So I give a slip of paper to each person in the class that explains the URL of my website. And it says in 2 to 3 weeks, these images will be posted, as a selection of the images, the best images will be posted online. So we go through, and then we just start shooting. And some of the students have told me it feels celebratory to have me there photographing. I think they feel just having someone pay a kind attention to them and take seriously what they're doing. They appreciate that.
Do you ever have any contact with anyone through email or social media?
After the fact, after the shoot?
Yeah.
Very rarely. And in fact, the Department of Corrections has rules that to prevent over-fraternization, because there's a concern if I get too close with the inmates, I could then start taking in contraband or something like that. So I'm actually not allowed to give prints to the inmates. So that's why I make the prints available to their families, and I let their families purchase prints from my website at cost. I don't take any money for the prints, but the families can get prints at cost, and they'll often then send the prints in to their loved ones on the inside. So there's sort of a roundabout way to get them in. So I do go back to programs sometimes, same prisons, and I'll see inmates that I'm familiar with, and I'm often greeted with a shout and a handshake and a smile, and people ask to help carry my gear upstairs and things like that.
And so with all the facilities you've gone to, is there one that stands out for you, and is there a particular reason why either the facility stands out or the program stands out, or even some of the students?
Wow, that's a hard one. The first one that comes to mind is the one that's closest to my home. It's only 6 miles, San Quentin. So, and I've been there more than any other prison. I've probably been maybe 40 times into San Quentin and photographing things. And they have really robust classes there. They have a painting class, a printmaking class. They have a press, creative writing class, Shakespearean drama, and music. So it's a very rich program there at San Quentin.
Since you've gone back to that prison so many times, are there people that you've photographed over and over and over again that you've seen them transition and open or change through and that you've documented through your photographs?
Well, I have seen some of these men and women multiple times, but of course, maybe there's been a span of a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. Of course, in the time of their incarceration, some of these men and women are incarcerated for 20, 30 years. It's a small blip, that amount of time. But yes, I have seen, in fact, quite a few of the people that I photographed are out now. They are what we call returned citizens. Many of them are continuing to pursue art, even though they only were introduced to art for the first time in prison. I'm able to connect with these men once they're out of prison, and they are very gracious with their time, and they come to panel discussions talking about the value of the prison art program, and they give talks and are interviewed and things like that.
We don't hear you, Alexi. No, we lost you.
Still?
No. Oh, there we go. Go ahead.
Sorry. So James is asking, there is so much sound in your photographs. Have you considered shooting video?
I'm asked that often. One reason I don't is just because my hands are really full with these still images, and I feel very, they're very useful. You know, still images are very useful for publicity because they can be put in blogs and films and books and movies and everything. Video has a little bit less of an application, although it is a richer medium. But I think the main reason that the stumbling block is that because of some sort of arcane history and rules, it's more difficult to get permission to shoot video in prison than it is to shoot stills. I think the reason is because when CDCR created the rules around shooting video in prisons, they were thinking of large production crews with multiple cameras and sound people and producers running around and gaffers and everything. And so it's a bit of a complex. There's 2 extra permissions you have to get from the California Film Commission and from this other fellow in the Department of Corrections. So with the hurdle being higher, and I've been so happy with shooting stills, I've just stayed with that for now.
Oh,
And
we
I
have
believe,
David. Yeah, go ahead.
is David, do you want to unmute and ask your question live?
Okay,
Yeah, we gotcha.
me, okay. Um, I really love what you do, and I know it's much more difficult than you lead onto. Uh, I do the same with our homeless population in Southern California, and I just wondered. I'm kind of looking at the depth of field and some of those kind of things, but what's your go-to lens? I don't see much in the area of portraits, but I see that you really have a nice feeling with all these shots that you've done.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. My shooting has, and my lighting has really evolved in the course of this progress, in the course of the 15 years. When I was first started shooting, I was shooting at with a 24-105 with an aperture of about f5, f6. But later in the project, I started shooting with much wider apertures. So now I more commonly shoot with a 24-70 lens at like f2 to try to get that nice shallow depth of field. So it's changed quite a bit. For lighting, I used to light very broadly with shadowless light. I would just fill the whole room with light. And it made the images very bright and crisp and colorful, which I thought suited the emotional tone of the classes. But later I got a little bit bored with that shadowless lighting. So then I started using more directional, contrasty lighting. So now, like in this image that's up now, you see it's backlit a little bit, rim lit. In the last half of this project, I was being much more experimental with the lighting. And now when I shoot, I'm dragging my two light stands all over the place while I'm shooting. You know, I'll shoot one cluster of people and then I'll move my light, drag my light stands. Yes, they've fallen over a couple of times, haven't hit anybody yet. But I move the lights around based on just the individuals of the group that I'm trying to shoot.
I wanted to say that David will be presenting in our part 2 of Inspire and Elevate. David, it's great to have you here today. Thank you. And we have time for one more question. And then Peter, you can hold up if afterwards we'll see what you're donating.
Okay.
Ave.
Yes, I just wanted to say this is an incredible project, but I'm so impressed that, you know, when you think of prison, you think of unhappy people. There's a lot of angst and violence, at least the prison docs that I see on television. And here, everybody is having a good time and smiling. Just incredible.
Well, I hope they convey a little bit of the spirit of these classes, which is just remarkable. Several instructors have told me that the best students they've ever had, though they've taught in high schools, colleges, and junior colleges, their favorite students are incarcerated students because of the dedication they have. You know, there's not a lot of distraction, but they're really focused on doing what they do. The other thing I'll say is that this is a particular selection from my body of work. You know, with the theme tonight of being elevate, inspire, I specifically chose images that were really upbeat and inspirational. But there are some that are a little bit more moody or introspective in the larger body of work.
Thank you. Thanks for your question, Abe. Peter, can you hold up and let everybody see what you're donating?
Yeah, I'll see if I can
So
get it close. Here we go.
It's the woman from your project, yes. And that's on the cover of one of the books, is that right?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to shift on to Chung-Ping. And remember, everybody, thank you so much for staying with us. And at the end, because we want to give each of our artists a time to talk. And at the end, if you want to hang out, have a glass of wine, you can ask them. They'll be staying on a little bit longer. So Chung-Ping graduated from National Taiwan University, where she majored in history. She spent much of her years observing museum artworks and artifacts. In the US, she pursued her deep interest in art and photography. She's among a new wave of Chinese photographers who reintroduced aspects of China's considerable aesthetic heritage within contemporary photography. Cheng's work was recently included in the LA Art Show through the Los Angeles Art Association and in solo exhibitions in the 1839 Contemporary Gallery in Taiwan and shoebox projects in Los Angeles. Welcome, Chung-Ping. Thank you for being here. We're going to show your beautiful work.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank you, Pasadena Photography Arts, provide this chance, organize the platform for us to show our work, not only to show our work and also to learn from other artists. I'm very appreciate. This project, I shot. I'm more old school. I do my project with a film and print in the dark room. So it's like the old way, not the digital way. And I usually do flowers. The flowers with iconic meaning in the culture. Like this project, I shot Lotus, and Lotus has the meaning and the metaphor like purity and integrity, and also I printed the black and the white. Very traditional. At first, is traditional black white prints. Then I thought maybe I can put something on the black and white prints. So I put my Chinese painting, writing on the photography paper, and also stamp with my my chop, the Chinese chop, to make this project more contemporary. So also I put a very famous Chinese poetry. The poetry is from 1071 in the around the Song Dynasty in Chinese culture, and this is a very famous poetry to praise the lotus, and also the scholar he used the poetry to apply himself as the ideal person, like the lotus with purity, straight integrity. So this is the project I did, and I learned photography when I moved here in year 2000. I learned some art classes like painting, drawing, art history in the city college. So, and during these classes, I like photography more. So from that time, so then I focus on my photography pursue too, and also I mainly do fine art photography.
So, Chung-Ping, the writings you're having, these are obviously different poems, but then some like this image, there's much less writing than on the others. Can you talk to us about that a bit?
So when I create, I usually I will take a look how the void, the empty space I can put on my my painting and the writing. So for this one, I think I would like to leave more space. But this one, I think because it has some more space, I can put my writing and painting. So then I do more. But some prints, I think it's better to less writing, less painting, but more photography itself. So I just compose when I just like do painting. When I compose, I just use the different perspective space, and so
It's like your canvas. It's your canvas, and then how you're feeling, where you want to place everything, and the poems that you're using, you're very process driven, and so some of the images are the same images, and then you are recreating them in a different way. Tell us a little bit about that process of how it is driven in that way as well.
When I do photography, sometimes I like to experimenting something different. So that's why so this project I also experimenting with the different culture. I put different culture together with the Chinese aspect, with Chinese elements, and also the Western photography. I combine this together. And at first, I like some image. I like some image very much. So then I try like the first image, the project. There are some image like I use repeatedly, because I think that image I like. Has more spaces I can use to put to write and paint. So then I just experimented to use that image with a different composition, different writing to see how does it look when I use the same image, but different perspective, different composition.
Right, like these first three, I believe, are the same image.
Yes, I use the same image, but I put different painting, different writing to see what to compose a different, just like a painting from different way.
Chung-Ping, when did you start this work?
Pardon me?
What year did you start this?
I started from the 2018, and I still continue to do this because I plan to do more, but the darkroom is closing, so I just stopped during the pandemic. I just stopped, and and I plan to do some more and use different image to create.
And the stamps that you have, they're different ones. There are 3 of them or 4. And can you tell us a little bit about that signature of the stamp?
Oh yes, I use the stamps just like because I do Chinese painting also. When we finish the painting, we will put our name with the stamps, and also we will put the stamps with some different, not only the name, but also we will put the stamps with like one phrase or some words that can go with this project. So I will put my stamps, my name stamps, also put the stamps with the phrase on the top, on the right top, or the left bottom. So this is the Chinese painting, the way we do we put the stamps.
And you're using gold and white. Is it aesthetic, or is there something to using the white or the gold?
I think the white and the gold is it's go with the black and the white color. It's better but this one I use gold because the white background is much than the black background, and the gold I think is go with the white. It's more bright with the gold, but some other I use silver because I think the silver with the black background or with the black it's better. So some I use silver, some I use gold.
We have a question. Cindy Hart asks, how do you physically draw and add the text to the photograph?
At first, I used the Chinese brush. Actually, I use the Chinese brush to paint and write. But at first, it's a little difficult because the surface, the photograph paper surface is very smooth. It's not like a Chinese rice paper. When we paint on the Chinese rice paper, the rice paper has the fiber on the surface, so it has a resistance. That makes you easy to hold the Chinese brush. But this photo paper is very smooth. It's very hard to hold the Chinese brush well. So I practice first. I practice first on the Chinese on the photography paper. Then when I feel it's good, I can do. So then I just put the writing and painting drawing with the Chinese brush. So just learn how to hold the brush first.
And related to that question, Laura wants to know if you paint flowers from imagination or are you mimicking the flowers that you've taken photos of?
The painting flower I used because I paint Chinese painting. I do Chinese painting also. So I apply my Chinese painting to my photography, and I choose some. I just create to go with the photograph itself. So I think so. Some flowers I can do this way, and some flowers maybe another way, and then it can go with the photography itself.
When you look at the images, do you know immediately what you want to do, or is it a longer process?
I think it's not longer. I choose some angle, some I think this angle can go with the perspective of the flower or the leaf in the print. So but so sometimes I need to think more to compose. I think to go with the whole view. So some I think more, but some I think I can do just immediately. So just it's not regularly.
Well, do we have time for one more question, or where are we? We're okay.
We are right on time. If Chung-Ping wants to show the print that is going to be up for donation, or up to win through donation. Now
I like to donate this image. I printed the.
Whoops, excuse me.
I print in the dark room. This is black, the yellow and blue. I printed dark. I like to donate this one.
Thank you, Chung-Ping. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to learn about your work. It has a lot of depth to it. I think all of our projects have something to contribute that give us this sense of what we say, inspire and elevate. There's this elevation to the work that you can feel, and thank you for that. And now we move to Ave, who I'm so happy to have here as well. Last but not least, Ave is born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. He worked early in his career as a photo stringer for Downbeat magazine in Pennsylvania in the 60s. He's been a successful photographer and educator for the past 40 years. Early on, Pildas began working as an art director at Capitol Records in Hollywood, photographing and designing album covers. You know what those are, right? Album covers. He became a freelance photographer and designer soon after, specializing in architectural and corporate photography. His photographs have been globally exhibited in solo exhibitions and featured in many publications around the US and abroad, including the New York Times Magazine. His work is in collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York, Bibliothèque Nationale of Paris, University of Arizona, and he is a professor emeritus at Lotus College of Design. Ave, we're going to show you work, and then you get to tell us all your wonderful stories. Ave, I want to say, when I first saw your work, well, actually, I was excited because you had the main room. I had one photograph in this exhibit that Yuri was curating, and that's when we first got to meet. And ever since then, you've been a favorite of mine, and we're so honored to have you here. You are an educator that so many people have learned from, and we're excited to hear you share your stories. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Debbie, and thanks for inviting me, and thanks for everybody for hanging in there, and Pasadena Photographic Arts and my other presenters. I'm in good company and happy to be here. Just a little bit about myself. I had a great education. I studied architecture, design, typography. Only had one darkroom course, never any photo courses, but I've been at it a long time and I love what I do. So that's the short story. The story about these pictures, which is now going on a more than 40-year collection, is that I work in series. So these started in the 70s and they're about animals. I call it Animal Antics, and it documents my observations of humans with animals, interacting with animals or the likenesses of animals. These observations have occurred worldwide. I travel a lot. My subjects include not only living specimens, but also representations of animals and monuments to them. So, we love animals as pets. We revere them as creatures of nature. We gawk at them in zoos. We eat them. We hunt them. We use them for sport. We display them as trophies. We adorn them. We wear them and their skins and furs, and they serve us in many ways. Pictured here is an enormous range of complex relationships between our species and other species. It's a kind of a mashup. It's humorous in some cases, but it's ongoing and it will continue to grow. So I have fun with it, and I think a lot of them are fun.
It
So.
shows. It shows. Are there any particular ones you want to tell us about? We have this image.
Well, there's a story behind every one of them, I mean, for instance, the one up on the screen now is this macaw was very interested in me, and it's quite close to the camera, and I think that the woman who is the owner of the macaw is not quite sure what's going on, and the woman to the left or to the right of the image is also not sure what's going on. The macaw seems to know what's going on. So that was at a fairground. This is one of my favorite pictures because this was in Prague in a art gallery, and very, very strange. And I took a number of pictures trying to take a picture without anybody else in the room. But when I looked at the photographs afterwards, I realized that, both the stuffed pig watching two pigs go at it, and the other person who was at the gallery, who I have no idea, also watching what I call pig porno on the screen, just made the picture. So I'm glad that I rejected the other pictures and got this picture. It's just sometimes you don't know what you've got until afterwards.
True. All in the edit.
And Abe, we have a question from Peter. Do you have pets yourself?
Absolutely. I have, and I always have had. I have two Dobermans at the moment, and a double yellowhead parrot. Double yellowhead parrot. His name is Norbert. The dog's names are Ammo, AMMO for ammunition, and Java because she's the color of coffee.
Oh. And we have another question from the audience. So they say, Abe, beautiful work. I see a difference between your older black and white photos and your more recent color photos. How has your approach to photography changed through the ages?
Well, I've been taking pictures a long time, so I started taking pictures in black and white. And then I think when we got to the 80s or the 90s or even more recently, I took a lot of pictures in color. However, I would say for the last 8 or 10 years, I always shoot in black and white. So I said, even though my camera is capturing in color, I'm always shooting in black and white. And I shoot in black and white again now because I really feel that it's more photography, and because there's so much color out there that I just love black and white again. So um, I don't know that maybe what I'm interested in is changed a little bit, but for me, I'm not a techie. The camera is just another tool for me. I mean, I've been a painter, you know, I've designed typefaces. So, you know, like cameras, taking pictures seems to be able to keep up with the speed of my mind. So I get more done with a camera than I do with any of the other tools that I use.
Dave, why don't you unmute yourself?
Hey, well, I'm Dave Freeman, and Ave is the most important person in my life, and he's my mentor, and everything I've done in my later years now, as far as photography, I attribute to him. But his career is being documented by a French film group, and I think we're going to hear a lot about all the work that Ave has done, and he's just kind of gave me a new life. I think Abe's what, 81 now?
Yes.
81, and I'm 79, and so we rag on each other a lot. But he is an amazing man, and his wife Phyllis is equally as good in her sculpture work. And they live in Santa Monica, in a place that he designed so that she could do her sculpture and he can do his photography, and the dogs can run in between. Beautiful. And I'm so glad to be here and glad that he's on the show.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, thanks for the props, Dave. But and it's a little embarrassing, but David is also an incredible photographer. So, and he didn't get it all from me.
Can you tell us about this image? When I first saw it, I thought it was fake. And tell us more.
No, it's in Mumbai, India, and very often, you know, the stripe that goes down the middle. I use that a lot when it's there. I don't try and get rid of it. I just try and put it in the middle, and then I've got kind of two images sometimes. But you know, they let the cows out in the morning in the cities, and they wander around the streets, and then they come home at night. They do the same thing in Switzerland, but they have a big bell on their around their neck, and then they come back home. But in this case, the cow, I always thought that the cow was visiting his ancestors because, you know, as part of the Indian culture, because it says leather since 1998 on the window. And this was around Christmas time, but, you know, it's a leather shop and it's at night and it's just available light. I can also tell you that sometimes the streets are very narrow in some parts of India and in the city, and the cows get stuck in the streets, and then I guess the people have to kind of push the cows through so that they can get home. It's very funny, but you know it's a great place to take pictures. It's a really wonderful place. Go to India if you can.
And this guy, he's also maybe applying for the job, right?
Yeah, he's answering the wanted salesman ad.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Well, James says the irony is overwhelming, and then he asks, "Is a zoo the candy store for your ongoing project?"
The it isn't just a candy store. In every city that I go to that has a zoo, I visit the zoo because I'm interested in the animals. It isn't always that there's a good photo available there, but I'm very interested in animals, and you know, I think that uh, most of the animals are very intelligent. I think that if they went to school, or if humans spent more time educating animals or training animals, that we would have a much better interaction with animals. And they're smart. I mean, my dogs are really smart. I depend on them a lot. They depend on me. But I know that you know, we use the military uses animal, you know, like the medical community uses animals. We're all using animals, so they're a big part of humans' lives. You know, the interaction is amazing, and it's very broad. This guy is on the Malecon in Havana, and he just caught this snapper, so he was very happy about it. So.
How about this fellow?
Debbie?
Yes, we have a question.
Yes. I don't know if I can put me on
We
camera.
hear you. We hear you, and we see
Yeah,
you.
that's okay. I just wanted to say hello to Abe. This is
Hi.
Karen. It's Karen Crossan. Ready?
Oh, hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm so happy to be here. I really was pleased to to accept the invitation, and I've loved all the things. But of course, I was waiting to see yours, and this is great. Abe and I go back to 1970, and so it's a wonderful treat, and I follow the photos all the time.
We're
Well,
glad.
thanks for joining us, and thanks for continuing to look at the pictures that I post.
Absolutely. This is very cool. I'm in Portland, by the way, Portland, Oregon.
Yes,
Great.
that's good. Debbie, you asked about this guy. This guy is a little strange. It's a sideshow, a carnival, but so he's a carny guy, and it's a Mexican hairless, but it's just a weird situation that he's got the dog in this crib. So you know, it's a little bit of a put on, you know.
For sure, for sure. The rough and tough cowboy, not so rough and tough, right? He's not going to go broncoing any moment. Alexi, were you pointing out some questions?
I had a question myself. I was just wondering, let's say that you were in a zoo. Are you paying more attention to kind of what's going on in the animals' worlds, in their eyes, what they're seeing, what they're interacting with, or are you more looking at the human side, or maybe not paying attention to what's going on? Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I think I consider myself very blessed that I'm aware of almost everything that's going on around me, and I have both eyes open. One eye could be on the viewfinder or the eye at the camera, and the other one is looking around to see what's going to happen. But I really look for things that are unusual. Some interaction between the people, but I also am terribly interested in you know, what the animals are doing. So and because of that, I miss photographs, but I miss photographs all the time. You know, I kick myself for a half a minute, and then I'm on to the next thing, you know. So this was in Beverly Hills, by the way, and I ran up to the car, took the picture, and then it was over.
And can I ask a personal question?
Okay.
Is that Waluska in the back?
Is what?
Is that Waluska standing in the back?
No, that's
Looked
that's
like
a cutout of me in the back there in a striped shirt.
Oh,
So
wait, no, well, loose, no, the other side.
the other side, the photograph?
Yeah,
No, the photograph is a different type of series of photographs that I take called paper movies, and there it's also street photography, but mostly deals with people, pedestrian traffic.
yeah.
Abe, can you show us what you are donating this wonderful?
Yes,
patent
two.
house?
Well, first I'll show you. Here's a little book, and this is. I think that I've got self-published maybe a dozen little books like this. Prior to that, publishers have published my books. But here's a picture that. Oops, let me pull it out of the
Thank you.
the
Yeah,
plastic.
Claire, thank you.
Plastic. This is not in the show, but one of my first pictures from the 70s. And this is my cat, which was a Tonkinese. And I had a solarium sort of in my house. And he would catch things and bring them into this room that only had one entrance and exit, and just play with them until he got tired of that. But I took a lot of pictures, but this one is the best composed one because it has this upward triangle. So there's a lot of tension. The base of the triangle, that's very steady, but everybody knows what's going to happen. The cat is ready to pounce, and that the rat is afraid to move because the cat's going to pounce. So there's a lot of tension in the picture, but this is dedicated to Günter Grass, and Günter Grass wrote a book called Cat and Mouse. So
A lot of
it's an
tension.
old photo,
A-
an
a
old
lot-
photo, but a good one.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. I want to thank you and thank all of our presenters. Thank you all for being here. Alexi's going to show us a little picture in the background of everything. If you still want to donate and receive one of these really cool pieces of art, we have until midnight, and then tomorrow we will pull the raffle and send out the information for the winners. And
Thanks, everybody.
yeah, thank you. And we can stick on for a little bit. If you have some direct questions for the artists, we're just going to leave it open. We're going to unmute you. We'll release you to share in with everybody. And again, we thank you so much for being here, and you're interested in Pasadena Photography Arts and what we do and our forum. Donate, get on our mailing list. We'll send you all the information. We'd love to keep in touch with you and hear any thoughts you have. And thank you and welcome. Thank you.
I'd just like to say to Debbie that, this was really interesting tonight, and I've watched several, and it's really kind of refreshing because we're locked down, and and it's hard to really know what's going on, and so I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and I also would like to commend Pasadena because I live in Long Beach, and I've tried to get Long Beach to, hey, have a look at what Pasadena Photography Arts does. You can do lots of things in this shutdown and lockdown, but you know what? They're not. They're kind of just spinning their wheels, and lots of artists. Although Long Beach came out with a $450,000 stipend for all of the artists, not me, but all the other artists, but as far as a city, what makes a city really important is the vibrance of its art, and I think that what you're doing at Pasadena is really important.
Well, we thank you, and we couldn't do it without you, and we appreciate you being here. And
Can I make
thank
a
you.
comment? This is Bill Wishner.
Go ahead, Bill.
Last comment. This really is not a project of Pasadena at all. It's just that we started out by those folks, those of us who lived here. And this OpenShow and the concept of what OpenShow is and can do, and now we're sort of worldwide in what we're doing, especially with the virtual aspect of this, can be done anywhere, Long Beach or anywhere. And one person can start it and everybody else can join in. But we named it Pasadena Photography Arts because that's where we're located. But the city of Pasadena hardly had anything to do with it. In saying that, though, I will say one additional thing. We did have several small grants for them over the last couple of years, not this year, but those grants were helpful for us getting things organized. So with that, I'll leave it at that.
Great.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Bill. It's true. And it's the people. It's the people.
Chime in and thank Bill for being the founder of Pasadena Photography Arts and bringing forward 11 years to here we are today with Debbie curating and hosting tonight's show. It's awesome.
Well, we had a lot of fun. I thank you all for staying on to the end. I won't do any dancing or singing for you. That's my gift to you in the new year. My cousin Annie's here though, and she's from Long Beach. She could actually, you know, I should put you with her, Dave, because she does some really great stand-up and improv. But also I did want to say, you know, the reason I came up with the idea for Inspire and Elevate for 2021 is because we have been going through so much. It has been a difficult year, but within that have been some really wonderful things. Like we get to be here on Zoom and we get to inspire each other. We get to elevate each other with our work and community. And that's what it's about as well. And I wish you all great health and safety.
Can I say one more thing?
You may.
Okay.
I'm not done. I'm just getting my
Today's
wishes.
a very, very special day for me because before COVID, I put together a team to document the voices on Anaheim Street in Long Beach, the homeless voices. And we couldn't believe that last Saturday that we were locked down, but we'd already spent 4 months filming and we released the film yesterday. And it's just gotten incredible response. I sent one to Roland's copy of it. It's only 29 minutes, but we let the people, I let them talk to the mayor of Long Beach because everything is going in circles as far as what we do for our homeless community. And that's Long Beach, that's LA, that's Pasadena, which I photographed in great detail, that population, and also in Orange County. And trying to get a project like that seen by the people that can make a difference for all of these people. And a lot of the people that are homeless are quite good artists, which I got involved with as well. But anyway, I just wanted all of you to know that that film is 29 minutes and it's available. And if you email me or maybe email Debbie, I'll send you the link, or you go to my Facebook page, which is easy, David Freeman, and it's posted. We posted it right on there because we want everybody to see it. And thanks for the time, Debbie. Thanks for that.
David, would you be able to put that link directly in the chat? Could you message it?
I can put the whole thing. I put it on there for Roland. So let me copy it and then I'll just I'll put that in, and it's also the article that was in the paper today, and then the link. Okay, let's see where.
Congratulations for that.
Okay, here
and I
it
know
is.
Nancy Kay wants to mention something that she's doing, which is beautiful work too. Where are you, Nancy? Are you muted? Because I don't see you.
I'm muted and I'm not on camera yet. Hold on.
Okay, there she is.
There I am. Yeah, I just wanted to share with the photographers, something that I've been doing through the pandemic. I teach photography in a lot of different places, and through the pandemic, I've led online workshops to document the pandemic with photos and personal statements. So I've created group essays with the participants, and we shape the show based on what's happening at that moment. The series is called Capture This Moment. Some of the shows have been more documentary than others, and some have been kind of metaphorical. I did something like this with ASMP photographers really early on in the pandemic. And that had a more of a professional look to it. The photographs were beautiful. But the series that I've been doing through American Jewish University's continuing ed program is really a wonderful way for people to not feel so alone. The 2-hour classes that meet 3 times serves as a great opportunity for people to just share their experiences, and for people to just hear them and understand them. And then the photos are a great way to creatively express and kind of preserve this time. So it's been a fascinating experience. I also love, as OpenShow supports, the idea of projects and putting things together, that synergy that comes from grouping pictures on a like theme. So when you see the full spectrum of experiences that people go through, and the commonalities and the range and the variety, it's really it's powerful.
Is there a link that you can put in the chat for people?
I did put I thought I put in a link. No, maybe I didn't.
And Nancy, you should all know, Nancy, it makes a mark in the photo community. She's been involved for some time with ASMP. Nancy has beautiful work herself and is quite instrumental in creating so much in different venues as well. So glad that you're here. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, I would love to see people participate from all over the range of different ability levels, and also geographic differences. The wonderful thing about teaching via Zoom has been reaching people all over the country.
Absolutely, and that's why we were able to expand. We have 4 artists from California. It used to just be Pasadena, East LA. That was the idea, to bring to that part of we have so much traffic. It takes like 3 hours sometimes to go from Santa Monica just to get over to Pasadena. So now we get to go to New York and to Tokyo, and we don't have any rush hour. It's just put some clothing on the top. It's okay if you're still wearing your PJs on the bottom, right?
In fact, there's a wonderful picture that somebody did put into one of the pandemic exhibitions. She had her husband wearing a jacket and a shirt and tie, and on the bottom he's still in his boxers, and he's sitting at a laptop.
But you have to be careful. You can't stand up. You have to remember what's going on down there.
That's right.
But if anybody else wants to just share a thought, we're open right now. We welcome you. We're happy you're here. We are a community.
And if not,
I wanted to say something real quick, and my camera's not on. I'm sorry.
I don't know who that is.
It's Gail Nichols Ali.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, I've been coming to these for a while and inspiring. They're very inspiring, and I've been forcing my students to attend because they're in AP photography and art, and The work is so rich and inspiring, and I really thank you for doing this. And it kind of inspired me to kind of put together a little series for my students, a student series where I have them kind of do the same stuff that you're doing. But I really want to thank you for doing this, because when they have a hard project that they need to work on, I make them watch some of the videos that you have posted, and I make them attend. And it's been really, really great to have this experience. So thank you.
It's so good to know that it goes further than we know. And yeah, this is recorded. It'll be on YouTube. If you're on our email, you'll get that announcement. You know, we in February for Forum, we've got Michael Rababi, as I had mentioned. We've got Ann Wilkes Tucker. You've got to show for the Forum. I mean, there's just a plethora of information. These are amazing people. You'll get to travel from just sitting at your home. And stay tuned for part 2 of Inspire Elevate, which will be March 24th. Sign up for emails. We'll get everything to you. Write us letters if you want. Send wine, anything, really. We thank you so very much. I love seeing your faces. And I'm filled with nachas. What can I say? Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.